Hi everyone, how are we all doing? As Ghost of Tsushima just came out today, I figured we'd talk about its main character, Jin Sakai. Jin is the perfect embodiment of a romanticized samurai. He's brave, he's honorable, and selfless at the beginning of the game. The Mongols arrive on Kodama Beach and launch their attack, met by 80 samurai warriors. The defenders soon learn that their way of war is much different from their opponents, and vicious fighting ensues. Most of the samurai are killed save for Lord Shimura. Lord Sakai is saved by a peasant thief, Yuna, and the two recover his gear. Doesn't take long for Jin to stop hiding from the invaders and dish out some justice. Jin agrees to help rescuing Yuna's brother after helping his uncle. The two ride for the castle in which the Khan is holding Lord Shimura, with Jin opting to storm the castle. He cuts through the Mongols, reaching a bridge and calling for Khotan Khan. After the formalities are done, the two duel, resulting in Jin being thrown off the bridge, prompting a daddy flashback, in which Jin is helpless to save his father, and his father slain. It's also shown that his uncle basically adopts him. Jin finds himself on the beach and meets with Yuna and his horse. He realizes that his samurai tactics just won't cut it against the Khan, and that he'll essentially need to adapt or die. The two then briefly split up, Yuna wanting more to help her brother, and Jin wanting to recruit allies to rescue Lord Shimura. When the two regroup, they ride to a Mongol prison camp. Here, it's made clear that the Mongols would kill the prisoners should the duo be discovered, and quiet kills were the best course of action. Such kills clash with Jin's honor. After he makes the kill, we see a flashback in which his uncle specifically tells him that he must look his opponent in the eye, that there's an honorable way to kill a man, and a dishonorable way to do so, and he must always go with the honorable path as a samurai. When Jin does take out this man, it's sloppy, and he allows the Mongol to scream out in pain, suggesting that it's the first time that he's ever taken someone's life in this way. He also uses a tanto to take out this guard. It's a very effective weapon for the task, sort of showing how the samurai are limiting themselves in some way. The tanto itself, among its many uses, is also a tool used by the samurai to reclaim some of their honor if they've done something dishonorable enough to where ritual suicide is the only way to reclaim it. It's funny how the first time he would disgrace himself in such a way has that sort of parallel. And of course, this is one of the main points in the game at which Jin's samurai upbringing and values collide with his developing moral code to put the people first. Over the course of the game, these two ideals clash, with his uncle first forgiving all of his prior actions once he's saved and rescued upon their reuniting, but when Jin does it again in front of him and all of his other samurai attackers, he can't ignore it, and Jin has to be punished. In our world, the way of the warrior class in Japan upheld values such as honor, courage, truthfulness, loyalty, and self-control. The most salient of these values being justice. There was no greater sin here than the underhand dealings and crooked undertakings. Courage was a virtue only in the cause of righteousness. A dog's death was a death for an unworthy cause. Loyalty was another significant facet of the code. Loyalty to one's master, feudal lord, and the state. By continuing to dispatch of his foes like this, he dishonors himself before his uncle and the samurai reinforcements. And Lord Shimura cannot ignore this. It's one thing to stab your opponent in the back, it's another to poison them all to death without crossing blades or looking them in the eye and giving them an honorable death. Jin's justification for this is that he could save several samurai lives, but in doing so, he disobeyed his superior, which would be in violation of the code, thus dishonoring himself. The only way to reclaim his honor would be through seppuku, ritual suicide, an ultimate act of self-control, courage, and resolve that could prove sincerity of purpose. This is why Lord Shimura hopes to pin the blame on Yuna, to spare his nephew and would-be son any further disgrace, but also helping himself out in that regard as well. Also in our timeline, whether Jin forsakes himself or not, he's screwed. The Mongols completely devastate the defenders and inhabitants of Tsushima indiscriminately. Tsushima was very important tactically to the Mongols' attack on the mainland of Japan, as it would help them to establish supply lines. would have been extremely difficult to maintain a proper assault on Japan without adequate supplies, and the Samurai Code didn't allow for many creative strategies against this enemy, essentially overwhelming odds. The Khan himself saying that this made Jin dangerous, but in reality, he wouldn't have been as noteworthy as he was in the game, purely just because that's just too many numbers on Tsushima. There's no way Jin is winning, and his only chance of survival is getting off the island and going towards mainland Japan. If he managed to make it to the mainland and didn't perish in the initial fighting there, then he'd likely at some point or another receive some sort of reward or lands from the Emperor, and would never fight the enemy as the Ghost, because he'd be surrounded by samurai. There's no reason for him to forsake his code. The main pushing force toward him doing that was him getting that realization with Yuna's help that ultimately it's better for the human lives to forsake his code a little. There's a possibility that Jin wouldn't be punished even if he did forsake his code a little because of what Japan was facing. If the Mongols won, the leadership, the hierarchical structure that they hold in such high regard could potentially be very much changed. The emperor being slain is very significant to Japanese culture because of how much religious and cultural importance they have on the emperor as well. Their lands, of course, would be ravaged as well, and their culture would definitely undergo changes that the people wouldn't necessarily want or be ready for. Many prayers were answered when the kamikaze graced the Japanese. Even the emperor was going to make an appeal to the kami himself. So Jin's actions potentially being overlooked in this case wouldn't be impossible to think, especially because everyone who contributed to the victory in our timeline was chomping at the bit for a reward. Religious institutions and soldiers alike. Now, of course, the idea that Jin's actions affecting the politics and way the country's run and being quite damaging to that, needing to be punished and making an example out of Jin so that that sort of thing isn't affected. Because remember, the game says itself that Jin's actions inspire the people to form their own sort of militias and push back the enemy, instead of relying on the samurai like they always would have. If one person has the idea that they can ignore the commands of those in charge, when you give that idea to the people, it's very dangerous, as history has shown plenty of times. Well, for those in charge at least, and the people alike. But I suppose that's just one of the things that makes Jin a tragic hero. But what did you think of Jin? Did you enjoy his character? Do you like his character? Do you enjoy the story? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new here as well. With that said though, I've been Prime, and have yourselves a fantastic day. If you want any more similar content to this, I've got some more ideas rolling out, and I'll link in a card some videos I've already done that might be interesting to you as well. With that said, take it easy guys. Bye-bye.